Utopian socialism, and Marxist or scientific socialism.
Socialism has never truly been successful. However, it is an important idea developed in the 19th century. Socialism developed as a response to a rapid increase in capitalism.
The revolution brought social and economic change to the entire world. Factory owners became wealthy while many workers lived in increasing poverty. They worked for long hours and under difficult and sometimes dangerous conditions. Socialism emerged as a response to the prevailing capitalist systems which were supported by the Industrial Revolution.
Socialism restricts individual freedoms and seeks equality in restraint and servitude. Also, socialists support the elimination of class distinction. The two classes made by the Industrial Revolution were the proletariat or working class and the bourgeois, which was composed of capitalists, the upper class, and wealthy owners of businesses.
Fundamental difference between utopian and Marxist socialism is that utopian socialists believe in a peaceful change in which people essentially withdraw from society and form communities in which there is no private property and they live as a collective.
Whereas Marxists believe that a revolution and transition to socialism is inevitable. Marxism is a much more radical and violent approach because people saw the failed utopian socialism approach and wanted to bring change to all of society. Utopian socialism was the earliest form of socialism. Utopian socialists sought to reorganize society completely rather than to reform it through political measures. Utopian socialists believed that the government should control production and property, and that everything should be shared within a community. They also strove to solve social inequality through the elimination of class distinction.
Some notable utopian socialists are Charles Fourier, Robert Owen, and Claude-Henri de Saint-Simon, all of whom held different versions of socialism. To them, socialism was their own expression of the absolute truth. It was what they thought would lead to perfect society.
Robert Owen was a successful Welsh-born manufacturer and member of the bourgeois, and is known as the founder of British socialism. He published the book Of the New Moral World, purchased a cotton mill in New Lanark, Scotland, and established a model factory town, where workers received conditions worthy of human beings, such as significantly decreased working hours and had children between the ages of 5 and 10 attend school rather than working. He also founded a community in Indiana named New Harmony, and the experiment collapsed after 3 years.
Charles Fourier was a French philosopher who traveled as a salesman for a loincloth merchant. He believed that concern and cooperation created social harmony. Additionally, he envisioned workers living in phalansteres where everything is shared, and that in order to prevent the rise of wealth in any sector, the richer sector got the smaller size of the share, and the poorer got the larger. He also believed that the freedom of women was essential to a harmonious society. The extension of the privileges of women is the fundamental cause of all social progress. Charles Fourier.
Claude-Henri de Saint-Simon was a French philosopher who believed that work was the central element in the new society, and that scientists, engineers, artists, and industrialists should control it, not the politicians. He also believed that all humans are naturally selfish, but that education can end these tendencies. He differed from the people previously mentioned because he believed in a more centralized state that controlled production as opposed to small communities. After his death, some of his followers, called the Saint Simonians, established a newspaper called the Free Women, where they claimed that with the emancipation of women will come the emancipation of the worker.
Karl Marx was the son of a prosperous German Jewish family that had converted to Christianity. Marx stated that class difference was the identifying characteristic of the human experience. He believed human history is defined by class conflict, and wealth was the source of most of that conflict. The Industrial Revolution increased this conflict because it divided society into two classes, the bourgeois and the proletariat. Marx's most famous piece of writing is the Communist Manifesto. In this, he stated his beliefs. The central principles of Marxism include the prediction that the working class would overthrow the bourgeois and replace capitalism and private property with a communist state in which all property is collectively owned. However, Marx focused more on the class struggle than on what state would result from the revolution he wanted. He stated that the development of modern industry deteriorated the foundation upon which the bourgeois produced products. Thus, the triumph of the proletariat was inevitable. Essentially, the bourgeois, according to Marx, was bringing about their own downfall. Marx saw the failure of utopian socialism and realized that change needed to occur on a statewide level. People couldn't just leave society and form new communities. The Communist Manifesto was essentially a call to arms. Marx wanted the working class to support a revolution that causes capitalism to cease to exist and a new classless society would emerge.
The group that supported socialism was the proletariat or working class. The ideas of socialism appealed to the working class because they did not benefit from the new liberal reforms or the conservative regime. The working class viewed socialism as a solution to improving daily life and creating a more equal society. Those who did not support socialism were most members of the bourgeois. The bourgeois obviously wanted to remain wealthy, but through the elimination of class distinction, private ownership, and means of production, prevented them from doing so.
And now to conclude, here are some buzzwords that should come to mind when you hear socialism. Harmony. Socialists were against competition, which is a principle of capitalism. Thus, they wanted harmony.
Equality. Socialists wanted the government and society to promote equality. The government had an obligation to make sure everybody is equal. Essentially, socialists didn't believe that equality was given, but that it had to be enforced.
Collectivity. There wasn't any private property in socialist communities. Everybody in a socialist community worked as a collective.
Community. In socialism, all property and resources were managed and owned not by individuals, but by the community.
Fairness. Socialism was against class distinctions. Socialists favor more equal distribution of wealth and income within society. People were also given fair working hours in socialist communities.